passion governs, and she never governs wisely.
The colonies are not to be emancipated.
All men are created equal, victory or death.
During the summer of 1776, a power army under British General Sir William Howe invaded the New York City area. His troops defeated and outmaneuvered General Washington's untrained and unskilled troops.
Now that we have New York City, if we capture Albany, the Hudson River's head, we can control the Hudson and separate New England from the rest of the colonies.
There were many hardships that plagued them along the way, and the British lost over 1,000 men and supplies. Meanwhile, the new commander of the rebels, Horatio Gates, set up a blockade to stop the advancing British. On September 19, 1777, the British hit the blockade and a battle broke out as the British tried to get through. The British were unable to gain any momentum and were pinned in place by American gunfire. Gates' army successfully blocked the British from Albany, and the British were forced to retreat to a small town named Saratoga. The Americans then followed them to Saratoga, where they quickly defeated the British army. Saratoga was considered a major turning point in the war, as it was a great American success that encouraged the supporters and also encouraged the French to join. After the first unsuccessful attempt to capture Albany, British Major General Howe pulled his troops out from their posts at New Jersey and put them in Staten Island as a part of the attack on Albany, New York. The plan was to have a three-pronged attack to separate New England from the rest of the colonies. However, after receiving the orders, Howe did some tinkering of the plan. He interpreted the orders differently and decided to attack Philadelphia. Howe believed that taking Philadelphia would make up for the losses he suffered at Trenton and Princeton.
On July 23rd, 15,000 of our soldiers will depart by boat from Sandy Hook. We will then head out to the Atlantic, then turn south and head towards the Delaware Bay, then continue to head south and enter Chesapeake Bay. We will then sail north to the head of the Elk River and finally continue to Philadelphia.
Washington was confused with Howe's plan. When Washington found out what Howe's true intentions were, he hurried his army to defend Philadelphia. The British and American armies then had a series of short encounters, most of which drove the rebels back. Howe resigned from his position in the military and General Clinton took over. Before Howe left, he ordered General Clinton to move out of Philadelphia. Clinton's orders were to move 8,000 soldiers to other parts of British territory, and the rest were to move back to New York. Meanwhile, the Comte d'Estaing in France depart with a squadron with 11 ships and 4,000 soldiers. Clinton, learning of the French, tried to move his 10,000 soldiers as quickly as possible back to New York. Washington and his army of 12,000 took up the pursuit of Clinton. Washington was undecided whether he should attack the British, and eventually he decides to do so. He appoints General Lee to lead the attack on the British rear. When the attack happens, the British soldiers are able to maneuver and encircle the American right flank. General Lee began a retreat, but Washington arrived among the chaos and began to defend against the British counterattack. The battle followed, involving a bulk of both armies, lasting until the nightfall, with both sides holding their ground. Even though the Americans fought well, Washington failed to defeat the British as Clinton slipped away into the night and completed the retreat to New York. On July 8th, d'Estaing arrived on the coast to help the Americans. The two commanders planned an attack on New York, and then they decided to transfer the attack on the British stronghold in Newport.
Take your fleet and force a passage on the west side of the island. I will take my men and cross over the border and attack the east.
During the attack, there was a miscommunication between France and the rebels, and d'Estaing pulled out of Newport. The disaster at Newport ended any hopes of an early victory over the British as a result of the French alliance. the British were able to regain strategic advantage on the mainland. The Revolutionary War had now entered a new phase.